Hello and welcome to my channel. If anyone's here, I hope you are. During my free time, I've been working on a portrait series and watching a lot of Netflix. And I wanted to show this time lapse of my week-long first portrait in my series. It's still not done, but it's a work in progress. And I wanted to discuss this Netflix show called Trial by Media. There were some major themes in there that I wanted to point out that left lasting impressions on me, and there are some questions it poses that I think are really important to just our current state in general. So, let's get into it. I'm not going to name specific cases that the episodes went over. I just want to talk about the major questions that it left with the viewers, with myself, and to illustrate why these questions are important. So, numero uno. The first impression and question it left with me was, how do we consume media, and are we wired towards consuming stories? So when the first episode comes in, it basically starts out by laying out these major themes of how important the media and storytelling is to our perception of reality. And so I'm just sitting here thinking about this, and I mean, think about how many religions and fables and myths and different movies have stayed with us for so long and really helped shape our lives. A character like Captain America is someone we characterize as a hero. He has a sympathetic backstory that we really identified with, and he overcame insurmountable odds, which is something we all want to do. He's someone who takes the moral high ground in conflict and consistently is someone we aspire to be. Because he was written that way. Humans, I'm afraid, are not that way. And it's interesting to me that we've imposed these rigid binary standards and tried to fit human stories into them. The way we used to consume stories was almost, there's this understanding that what we were consuming is fiction, or at least a belief rather than objective reality. And now that we've superimposed that on human stories, human secrets, their private scandals, we've put these long-standing motifs on people and stories that they just don't fit with. People are not binary. People aren't just villains or just heroes. We are shades of gray and in between. We aren't really good people, we aren't really bad people. People do bad things and people do good things. There are very few people, in my opinion, who are just genuinely evil or bad people. I think people commit atrocious acts, and we're now consuming media about it every day in and day out. Which brings me to my second point. The formula of storytelling. Successful reality TV and documentarian style TV has really figured this out. They know that they need a victim-hero narrative and they need a villain anti-hero narrative. And I think they're fully aware that both sides will have supporters. Both sides will have one group supporting them who is vocal and who speaks out on their behalf. You have to paint the story, and you have to treat it like it's a story. You have to paint one of them with empathy and compassion as you tell their story, and the other as adversarial and someone who's against our protagonist. You do this through lighting, through sounds, through different clips, and the way you piece the story together. On episodes of the show, the TV show on this Netflix, Trial by Media, explores how only one episode, sorry, I totally just tripped over my words, but only one episode explores how reality TV producers are trained professional agitators. And if you need more proof of it, I think her name is Sarah Gertrude, I don't know her name, but she was a former Bachelor producer who wrote a book and wrote a TV show just about how she was a trained manipulator, and that was their job, and they were incentivized to do so and get reactions from people. And so in this one episode, the trials trying to explore what is the culpability of a producer for their participants' actions. I don't know the answer to that question, but I think people keep signing up for these harmful shows because in some strange way, I think there's an emotional payout for watchers, producers, and willing participants. There's a similar emotional payout for each of them. The first, judgment of others. The second, successful manipulation of others and their stories. And the third, attention, possibly. We consume these stories, and our consumption is what drives markets. And we love to observe and scrutinize others' lives, and we've commercialized voyeurism. And using basic story formula, it paints our perception of subjective realities, and it's gotten just so pathologized, us exploring people's perspective and people's subjective reality and then getting other people's opinions, that it's so pathologized how we consume media that it's become storytelling media, even in news journalism, to the point to where we often cannot agree on an objective reality. So my third and final point is that we are psychologically programmed actually to be this way. And a great experience of this is, do you remember a compelling conspiracy theory you heard 4 or 5 years ago better than you remember the history notes for your next exam? Probably, because it painted a story with, first, someone you identified with, second, an adversary and an objective to overcome, third, an emotional buildup, and as we are reaching the climax, you're emotionally getting revved up, and then a huge final catharsis. It doesn't just stimulate our imagination, it stimulates psychological facets that we all are programmed to follow. Groupthink, social monitoring, identification with an in-group, reaction formation, projection, defensiveness. These are things that have shaped our personal and subjective reality. Of course, they're going to be shaped by the stories that we're told and the stories we tell ourselves. So then, watching all of this and posing these big questions in this TV show by micro-examining personal lives and the toll that the media has taken, we really have to ask ourselves, do we really have the capacity to change, to protect these people? I don't know.